Welcome to Celebrating Act Two. Celebrating Act Two is the user manual for the second half of your life.
Welcome back to Celebrating Act Two. We are here with one of our favorite guests, Manny Pacheco.
Well,
Manny, welcome.
I appreciate being here with the two of you. You guys look fit. It looks like hunkering down is good for both of you.
Yeah, I'm no longer brown as a berry like you.
And I got a lot of nice Irish red sun in my face.
I can tell. Look at that. You
So,
look good.
Manny, I've got a question for you because I know, besides being our Hollywood expert and a historian, I know you're a film fan like I am and like Art is, and you love movies, old movies, new movies. You just love the theatrical movie experience.
Yes.
And when this COVID-19 thing breaks, they're talking about reducing the restrictions and quote opening up the country to business and all of that. There's only two things I want to do. I want to go out to dinner at a nice restaurant, and I want to go to the movies. I want to sit in that theater and have that big screen experience. I really could use a good movie theater right now. What's going to happen with all these restrictions, even when we break it down and they start opening up bit by bit? What's going to happen to the theaters?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you this. This is what I do know. AMC is going to file for bankruptcy. AMC movie theaters, so they may not be around. They may not survive COVID-19. If they do open up other theaters, they may do the actual restrictions within the movie theaters, not sitting next to each other, making sure that there's a couple of seats between each other. That means less folks going to the movies. That means less profits for the movie studios. Unless they start showing the same movie in more movie theaters themselves within the chain. And how about the concessionary aspects of everything? I mean, are they going to be able to serve hot, fresh popcorn? Because of the fact that people know that that doesn't come prepackaged. So these are questions that are going to be asked. I will tell you this much, that the movie experience at the drive-in is going to re-emerge. Remember the popularity of drive-ins in the 1940s and the
Sure do.
1950s into
Yeah.
the 60s? That's going to become a thing. I truly believe that's going to become more popular. They're starting to reopen the drive-ins that exist still, and they're going to build more drive-ins. And they're going to become multi-purpose drive-ins in that not only are you going to see movies at night, because I don't know that you can watch a drive-in movie during a matinee. I think the sun prohibits that. But you can do other things at those drive-in theaters, including having church service on Sunday, maybe even going to a concert, a virtual concert at drive-in movies. So, yeah, a lot to talk about and a lot to ponder about this
Well,
situation. Things are not
Manny, you raise a great point about the concessions. A lot of people don't know this, but movie theaters derive, I think, at least half of their income
or more.
from the concessions, not the ticket sales.
No, I think it's more than half.
Yeah.
I think it's more like 60 to 70% come from.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that could really hurt them. That could hurt them.
So
The other thing I wanted to take exception with you about the drive-in theaters. Now, we're in California, so it's a different situation than, let's say, Kansas City or someplace like that. But I can remember going to the drive-in theater as a kid in New York, and then I can remember when we moved to California, there were still maybe two or three drive-in theaters around, but quite frankly, most of them had been turned into swap mates,
yes,
and one of them had been turned into the Crystal Cathedral. Uh,
right.
so the reality is in this new millennium, to build a drive-in theater in Southern California is not going to happen because the land
the real
is
estate.
so
Yeah.
expensive. And I don't think it's going to happen in New York or any of the big northeastern states. It might be a Midwestern thing, and it's a great idea, but it's drive-in theaters are not a sure thing.
Although I want to
I,
get,
I don't
I want to get back to the theaters, but on drive-in movies, I think there's another twist where Manny, you are you're right, but even more right than you can imagine because remember when we first started getting these electronic displays on the side of highways and you could hardly see them in direct sunlight and so on and so forth? They've solved all those, or virtually all those problems. So you can be
Yeah,
showing movies on a large screen display because they've developed them
sure.
for rock concerts and everything else. So I think that that's actually going to come back.
Yeah,
To John's point, the real estate I think is the killer because in a movie theater you can get 300
Right.
people in a relatively small contained place and have 21 theaters to choose from. In a outdoor movie, you have 300 cars with maybe 400 or 500 people, and you need the space that they have for just one theater. So the real estate I don't think will work.
Yeah.
Manny.
Then there's the other. Well, then the answer to that then is that the alternative is not very good for movie theaters. What's going to end up happening is that movies are going to have a shorter run in movie theaters, or they're going to go direct to stream, and particularly the case during the hunkering down period because we're still in a flux.
Mm.
No telling what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, when everything's going to open up. So right now movie theaters are taking a real I'm sorry, movie studios are taking
Mm.
a real hit as far as the release of movies.
Yeah.
And John, you more than we, and we have Netflix and we have Amazon Prime and a couple of other services, and I haven't watched too many movies, but my wife has, and quite frankly, there's first run stuff coming over into our living room. So
It sure. And the movie. Listen. We all know that the movie studios have been moving into streaming media like crazy. So, but they're not the only ones. There's a lot of competition out there. Manny, I wanted to ask you a question about movie theaters that you may not know the answer to, and that is restaurants. There's been a lot of talk about restaurants opening up as well. And our expert, resident food and travel expert, John Mariani, has pointed out to us that restaurants can't just open up willy-nilly at 25% capacity because they've got a minimum they've got to meet. They've got to, pay their employees. They've got to pay the rent. They all have a break-even point. If you've got 100 seats in a restaurant, you know that you need to serve 100 dinners that night to make a profit.
Right.
You know that at 75 dinners that night, you're breaking even, and at 50 dinners you're losing money. So is movie theaters the same way? Do the theaters know that they have to sell 50% of their tickets to be able to break even?
Oh no, they know that quite well. But as bad as it is for movie theaters, it's way worse for the distributor of movies. I'm talking the movie studios. I mean, they can lose a lot because a lot of they get a lot of the percentage of the profit from the screenings. And if there's less screenings, and I don't mean less screenings per day, but I'm talking about a shorter run of the movie for screenings then and it goes straight to stream or eventually ends up at streaming. Wow, I mean, they stand to lose hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. The movie theaters will lose tens of thousands of dollars, thousands to tens of thousands, but it's the movie moguls themselves that stand to lose a lot more money.
but it seems also
Mm,
that there are so many original, either one-off movies, not just documentaries, but one-off movies that Amazon and Netflix, particularly Hulu, I think has series and things like that. That they've figured out a dynamic to make that pay for them because they don't have any. Their overhead is sort of fixed. It's scaling up the delivery system, so they just need
And
to get
Net
subscribers.
and Netflix has their own, way of making movies. And so that's not going to make the movie moguls happy because they're not contributing straight to Netflix. That's by happenstance after years and years. So they're not happy with what the streamers are doing. And consider this: the Academy Awards group, the people who manage the entire Academy body, have determined that for this year and this year only, movies that are streamed instead of shown at movie theaters in Los Angeles or the Southern California area will be eligible for all Academy Awards, meaning that they don't have to screen in movie theaters, which diminishes that aspect even more. and it's already starting to have a ripple effect on decisions that are being made by movie studios. So, for example, AMC, as long as they're still open, and Regal and Edwards, they're about ready to boycott Universal Studios because they took their Trolls animated movie and they went straight to stream. And you know that animated movies make a bulk of the profits in the top 10 of movies every week. That was a significant hit to the movie theaters, as you mentioned, John. The movie theaters are just absolutely livid on the tens of thousands of dollars of revenue they would have received from the Trolls movie. So now they're going to boycott Universal. Now, how long that lasts is anybody's guess. But at least they're hitching up their pants and looking like Barney Fife from the Andy Griffith Show and saying, you know what, I got this bullet in my pocket, and you're not going to show any more movies in our theaters. And that's what they're doing.
Well, anytime you bring in Barney Fife, it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But so my last thought on theaters are, I was slow to adopt Netflix and Amazon Prime to watch movies at home in general because to me there was nothing like going to a theater, a dark theater with 300 strangers to watch a movie. Totally different experience no matter how big a TV you have, 60, 70 inch. It doesn't matter what you have at home. You don't have a multi-story high screen in front of you, really well designed surround sound or sound system. So that was an experience that you just could never duplicate, or probably very few people can
Well,
duplicate at home.
we are people of a certain age. I mean, we got to think about how millennials and Generation Z
Oh
and
yeah, on the
X
phone. Yeah.
view things today. They're going smaller. They're not going bigger. But I do agree with you on one thing, and I'll leave you with this, Art and John. There is nothing of the magic of somebody sitting behind you as they sneeze into the back of your head.
Yeah.
There's something very special about that. I'm gonna miss it.
With or without a mask on. Well, I think that if we did a poll of three people here to find out, raise your hand if you're looking forward to going back to a movie theater anytime soon, safely.
A bit
Soon and
Oh,
safely.
oh,
I
yeah,
don't know about
okay,
that.
three elbows. Uh,
yeah.
uh, you don't get a vote from me. I'm probably until after. My belief is that until after there is a vaccine that's pretty widely in use. I think it's 2 years before, if ever, people start going back to theaters and enclosed spaces like that. Well,
In
Oh,
Bro-
you
in Bro-
wimp.
yes,
You,
I'm a wimp.
I'm going to the movies the day they open.
Well, that's good. Can you sign over your partnership agreement with me because uh, that's that's I think going to be a different point in time. I really gonna miss you, John. Gonna miss you.
I'm staying out of this one. I'm staying out.
Well, then
Manny,
it'll
thank
be
you
the
so
Art
very
the Art
much.
Manny show. I'm you know
Yeah.
whatever. John, don't go to the theater yet.
Okay.
Yet. Okay.
Manny, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Well,
And
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Art, remind everybody where they can catch up with Manny online.
They can catch up with Manny in a lot of places, but probably the best place is ForgottenHollywood.com. But even more important, just to see the multitude of videos and interviews that we've had together, go to youtube.com / celebrating Act Two. And while you're there, subscribe. We've got lots of interesting videos there. Well, that's it. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, John. And looking forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thanks, Manny. Bye, everybody.
For more on Celebrating Act Two, visit our webpage, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and tell your friends. Celebrating Act Two is the user manual for the second half of your life.